He didn't hire me because I was the best, he hired me because no one else dared to stay. That was my first mistake. My second was letting him notice the way my hands trembled when he leaned too close. In New York City, where ambition fuels every breath and skyscrapers scrape the sky like daggers, Ethan Blackwood reigned as the coldest, most ruthless CEO anyone had ever worked for. People whispered about him in hushed tones. Stories about ruined careers, impossible deadlines, and the steel in his gaze that made even the bravest interns crumble. He wasn't just a man. He was a storm wrapped in Armani. And yet, for reasons I couldn't quite explain, I had walked willingly into the eye of that storm. My name is Daniel Hart, 25, broke, and carrying a secret that could burn my entire life to ash if anyone, especially someone like Ethan Blackwood, ever discovered it. I needed this job. Needed the paycheck, the stability, the distance it gave me from the life I had run away from in California. But from the moment I stepped into his office, something about him made it impossible to breathe. Coffee. Black. No sugar. That was the first order he gave me, without sparing me more than a glance. And when I returned, I caught the way his lips curled, the briefest flicker of something sharp and dangerous approval. I told myself I could handle him, that I could keep my head down, do my job, and never let him close enough to see what I was hiding. But Ethan Blackwood wasn't the kind of man you could hide from. He saw too much. He noticed too much. And he had a cruel habit of asking the questions you never wanted to answer. By the end of the first week, he had already cornered me twice, once about why I flinched when he brushed past me, and once about why I never joined the others for after-work drinks. I laughed it off, lied through my teeth, but his eyes lingered on me in a way that made me feel naked. There was a loneliness in him too, a shadow in his stare, like someone who carried his own secret but buried it under ice. And God help me, I wanted to understand him. The breaking point came on a Thursday night. I was working late, typing up reports, when the storm outside cut the power. Darkness swallowed the office floor, the city skyline blurred by rain. I reached for my phone flashlight, but then a deeper shadow moved across the glass walls. Ethan. You're still here, he said, voice low, almost a growl. Deadlines. I stammered, gripping the desk. You're hiding from something. His words weren't a question. The silence pressed in around us, broken only by thunder. His hand landed on the desk, close enough that I felt the heat radiating from him. My heart thundered louder than the storm. I don't know what you mean, I whispered. But I did. And so did he. When the emergency lights flickered back on, he studied me with that piercing gaze, the one that stripped me bare. For the first time, I thought I saw not just cruelty but hunger he didn't bother to disguise. I should have run. Instead, I stayed. The following weeks blurred into something dangerous. He demanded more of me, longer hours, closer proximity, tasks that kept me tethered to his side. Yet beneath the ruthless efficiency, something shifted. Sometimes his hand would brush mine when we exchanged documents, and he wouldn't pull away. Sometimes his voice softened when it was just us in the office, the steel cracking for a fraction of a second. One night, after a brutal board meeting, I found him alone, tie loosened, drink in hand. His usual armor was gone. Everyone leaves, he muttered, almost to himself. I don't know what possessed me, but I said softly, I haven't. His eyes snapped to mine, burning, and before I could process it, he closed the distance. The kiss wasn't gentle. It was desperate, bruising, a collision of power and longing. And when he pulled back, his hand cupped the side of my face like he was terrified I'd vanish. That was the night I realized my secret was no longer safe. Because Ethan Blackwood wasn't just ruthless in business, he was relentless in pursuit. And once he set his sights on me, there was no escape. But secrets have a way of clawing to the surface. And mine the truth about who I really was. What I had run from. Why I could never let someone like Ethan close. It was only a matter of time before it tore us apart. I knew it the night he found the file in my drawer. "Daniel," he said, voice low. "Dangerous. What the hell is this?" And just like that, the fragile world I had built began to shatter. His voice sliced through the silence like a blade. "Daniel, what the hell is this?" The folder lay open on his desk. My most guarded secret sprawled across crisp paper. A new name. A past I had buried. The truth I swore no one would ever know. Couldn't breathe. My chest caved in under the weight of it. Ethan's eyes pinned me in place, sharp as glass. But behind the fury was something worse: betrayal. "It's not what you think," I managed, though my voice cracked like cheap porcelain. He rose from his chair, slow and deliberate, each step closing the distance until I felt trapped. "Not what I think. You lie to me every single day. Who are you, Daniel? Or should I ask, who were you before you decided to become my assistant?" The room spun. Memories clawed their way back. California sun. A boy with my face but a different name. Running from the wreckage of a family scandal that nearly destroyed me. I had reinvented myself in New York to survive. And now, Ethan held my life in his hands. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I forced them down. I didn't lie because I wanted to. I lied because I had to. You don't understand what it's like to be hunted by your own past. His jaw tightened, fury battling something softer in his stare. "I don't give a damn about your excuses. You should have trusted me." I almost laughed at the cruelty of it. Trust. This was the man everyone feared. The one who built walls higher than any skyscraper in Manhattan. And why would I trust you, Ethan? You crush people for sport. You never let anyone in. You'd have destroyed me the second you knew. For the first time since I'd met him, he faltered. His mouth opened, then closed, like he had no argument ready. The silence was deafening. Finally, he whispered, "Get out." And I did. The days that followed were hell. I quit the job, packed my apartment, and tried to convince myself it was better this way. Without him, the world felt colder, lonelier, but at least I was safe. At least my secret wouldn't ruin me any further. But safety is a lie. And so is distance when your heart refuses to forget. I saw him everywhere: in the glint of glass towers, in the bitter taste of coffee, in the silence of nights where my bed felt too big. I tried to move on. I told myself love with Ethan Blackwood was impossible. But then came the text. 3 words. "We need to talk." We met in Central Park. Of all places. Surrounded by children laughing and runners passing by. He stood by the fountain. Not in his usual armor of suits and ties, but in a black coat. Hair tousled by the wind. For the first time, he looked less like a CEO and more like a man. "You ignored me for 2 weeks," He said quietly, "You told me to leave. I didn't tell you to disappear." The bitterness in his tone cracked my defenses. "What do you want from me, Ethan?" He stared at me, eyes softer than I had ever seen. "The truth. All of it. No more lies." So I told him. I told him about the scandal, the shame, the family name I abandoned, the way I rebuilt myself piece by piece in New York. And when I finished, chest heaving, I waited for the blade to fall. But instead, he said, "Do you think you're the only one who's run from something?" He told me about his own ghosts, a father who demanded perfection, a world that only respected him when he was ruthless, the loneliness he wore like a second skin. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. For once, he wasn't the storm. He was the man standing in the rain, just as soaked, just as human as me. I didn't realize I was crying until his thumb brushed my cheek. "You think I want perfect," he whispered. "I just want real. And you, Daniel, you're the only thing that's ever felt real." The kiss that followed was nothing like the first. It wasn't desperate or bruising. It was slow, deliberate, a vow stitched between lips. When his arms closed around me, I let myself sink into him. No more lies. No more walls. Just us. For weeks after, we rebuilt. It wasn't easy. He was still Ethan Blackwood Sharp. Demanding. Impossible, but behind closed doors. He let me see the man beneath. We learned to argue without destroying each other. To share silences without fear. To love without shame. And one night, as we stood on his balcony overlooking the glittering Manhattan skyline, he spoke the words that rewrote everything. "You changed me," he admitted, voice raw. "I didn't know I was capable of this. Of us." I laughed, leaning into his shoulder. "And here I thought I was just the assistant who brought your coffee wrong on the first day. You were always more than that." His hand found mine, warm and steady. "You were the one thing I never knew I needed." The city roared below us, alive and endless. But in that moment, the world narrowed to two men who had been broken, who had lied and run and hurt, and somehow found their way back. Love had not saved us. It had not erased the scars. But it had given us something better, the courage to be seen. Truly seen. And in Ethan Blackwood's arms. For the first time in my life, I wasn't hiding anymore. I was home. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.